start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Schulte, yo, Jones, Mr. Hill here, Mr. DeBoer. First look at the agenda for today. So approval of that.
Take motion. I was just wondering if there's any changes or anything.
Not that I have.
I just got a couple updates at the end, but nothing. I'll second that.
Motion by Jones, support from Schulte for the agenda as it's posted. Further discussion, comments? All those in favor, signify with aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Next we look at our minutes from last week's meeting, May 11th meeting. Relative to Tyler Avenue, once it's complete, the city has noise ordinance. There's something for Main Street currently for trucks and residents of the monument, Tyler Avenue, especially in the south mile. We would consider that. So
I couldn't see that with as many trucks as going down there. But,
unless it's finished and you know that you have some sort of issue, I mean, I can see doing it then. But if we do that there's a lot of other areas in the county with truck traffic, especially the people who live in their business corner, with all the trucks going to the chicken barns that have that same issue. And, you know, places like B&K and some of the other rural trucking outfits. So if you do it, it'd have to be a county-wide with specific areas singled out, and I don't know how you would enforce it.
So currently we have enforced ordinance number 34, which states where signs are posted, such engine or noise from vehicles shall be prohibited. And the letter of the law is that where signs prohibiting such actions are posted, it shall be unlawful for the driver of any vehicle to operate a motor vehicle in Osceola County in a manner that results in excessive, loud, or unusual or explosive noise from such vehicle or causes unreasonable distress to the occupants of any residence in the vicinity. Specifically, Section B states the operation of any motor vehicle in such a manner as to emit more than 80 decibels of noise when it drives by, as measured at 50 feet, shall constitute evidence of a prima facie violation. In other words, if we hear that level of noise, if it can be measured, or a reasonable person would believe it to be such, they can be stopped and cited. So really, it's a decision for you guys to decide where you want to post those signs, where you want to direct those signs to be posted. So we really don't necessarily need a new ordinance. What you guys need to decide is where you want to post signs. And it can be uniform across the county. So if you want them at Business Corner and on the North Mile, not at Business Corner, but on the North Mile and the South Mile on Tyler Avenue, it's really your call. And at this stage, I mean, Aaron's probably going to have the best opinion or advice on when this road's going to be complete. You guys can assess that now. If you want to decide that Business Corner needs signs next week, you know, have at it, because it sounds like that's probably a problem with folks driving the chicken barns. You know, so it's really up to you guys where and when you want to post those signs. As far as I can tell from looking at those ordinances, that was one of the ones that we left in effect when we redid the ordinances last year. So kind of already got it.
post sign, that is enforced.
Yep.
So it's a current ordinance that we have already established, basically.
I think enforcement would be an issue, because we don't have a manpower to have somebody hanging out at those locations to issue citations.
What it's basically doing is asking the drivers not to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is you're right, it's difficult to enforce that, because highway patrol's not going to enforce that for us, DOT is not going to enforce it doesn't give you a chance to do is, you know, why are we talking about Tyler Avenue, why are we talking about Business Corner? Because agricultural industry uses those roads routinely, and if you get reports that there's serious violations going on, or that people are doing it a lot during certain times of the year, then we can have maybe a deputy be out there for part of the day. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to guess when the most hauling is gonna happen to those places and from those places. Have a shot at maybe some spot enforcement. You're right, though, I mean, that's the most you're gonna get, is spot enforcement of this. And it's not as if it's a violation that we have the authority to jack the fines up that high on. I mean, you guys can increase the fines on it, but it's not like a DOT per axle violation where you're seeing eye-popping numbers that are really gonna deter somebody. I'd have to look up what the max fine you guys can levy is, but I would guess it's the max fine for a simple misdemeanor, which is $625. I don't think you wanna necessarily go that high with folks to start off with, but that's kind of the range of where you're at.
I think some of the other ones I looked at, like $100 is what they had.
A weight violation is really easy because people like Aaron can tell you exactly what the statistical effect of an overweight vehicle traveling repeatedly on roads is, and it gets expensive, right? But, you know, excessive noise, there's only so much people are gonna tolerate you hitting for, so. It's really up to you guys where and when you wanna post those.
Is the, fine amount established in the ordinance?
I can take a look, I did not take a look here on that, let's see. It might be. $100. So, there you go.
So another issue, though, that is related to this, back when we had these initial conversations, back 2 years ago, with the city and residents, and, you know, some discussions that came up from Slofeld and the design of that road, two things that we should take action on, and we might as well take action on them maybe by the next board meeting. One would be posting a speed limit for Tyler Avenue. The design on that road is actually a 45-mile-an-hour design of Tyler Avenue, and so that's something I would recommend that we post it. The other thing was to actually, this would be a mitigating factor too from the engine brake issue, is on 160th Street, currently Tyler Avenue is a stop condition, and 160th Street is a through condition, the east-west road. We would change that around and make a stop condition on 160th Street, and make Tyler Avenue a through road. So this will help alleviate some of those issues, at least going through those 2 miles. We still won't alleviate it fully because you have the entrance to the elevator and the activities that take place there. That could also still be an issue that you may want to possibly consider posting. But whether you do that now or in the future, that's entirely up to the board. But the 45-mile-an-hour and the change in stop signs at that intersection is something that I probably would recommend that we proceed, especially the mile-per-hour thing. And posting makes sense. It probably would be good to act on it sooner than later. The reason why is we could go out there, put up these new signs. It's already kind of a controlled intersection with all this construction activity. Give people a chance to get familiarized with the new signage, maybe even put in rumble strips or temporary rumble strips to get the local traffic more acquainted with the change in the stop sign condition, so that we can mitigate against a potential accident there in the future. You know, these are things that I would probably take, you know, quick action on once I have that ordinance in place, because this change in stop sign is by ordinance, I believe.
Are you thinking,
In the posting.
switching the stop signs?
Correct.
Or making a four-way stop?
Switching the stop signs so that Tyler Avenue would not have to stop.
Wouldn't it be better off to make it a four-way stop?
It would be the safest thing to do, especially initially, but again, that would not cause, that would not mitigate the engine brake thing, because that's where they're gonna be braking hard, you know, coming down that thing and off the culverts there, and coming down the hill from the other direction too. So that's where they're gonna, I'm guessing you're gonna probably have most of your complaints right there, if it comes up from an engine brake standpoint.
And you'll probably have a fair amount coming off of Highway 9.
Correct.
Turn it off on the highway.
Just that there's not a whole lot living there, you know, there's Ackerman, I think, there, and, you know, but I mean, there's not a ton of residents in that vicinity. I'm saying?
I'd rather see
Can
it
we
be a
post them on state roads?
four-way stop, not personally.
State roads?
It's gonna say that.
Oh, speed roads, right there.
No, the
Switched it,
ordinance.
left out 40 go through, so.
just to, you know, say what Jerry's saying though too, I mean, it would be the safest condition, you know what I mean, to do it that way. Either way, I think we should get them posted sooner rather than later.
Okay.
But, because currently, east-west is not used to stopping, they haven't done it forever. So, it'd be good to start training them early on, before it actually is open, you know, 2 months from now or so, when it becomes an open highway.
Sure, we hurt to put stop signs up there.
I sort of assumed it'd be the same way, it'd be stopping north and south and not east and west, but I didn't open the four-way or, it was designed for 45 miles.
Correct.
Prior to.
Yep, correct.
Intersection would be it.
It was things that came up from the city during those initial discussions and these concerns, and we were open to it at that time, and I'm open to it too. I don't see it as I see it as a logical thing, you know, it is logical. But at the same point, yeah, no doubt what Jerry's saying, from a safety standpoint, that would be to mitigate the most risk from an accident standpoint, be a four-way. But from a vehicle noise standpoint, there's no doubt about it, changing those stop signs around is what's gonna do the most good in that sense.
Yeah.
It will.
Because I know just putting up stop signs, it takes a long time for people to get used to that.
Mm-hmm. What we could do is just, we could have a resolution at the next board meeting for that. One thing that we could have a continued discussion on right now is what we want to see there. Because we can more formally propose it in that ordinance. So if we know exactly what we're gonna do now, we can write it up that way,
You know, even if we would make a four-way stop now,
temporarily maybe.
yeah, and change it in a year or so.
You could do that.
We're used to it.
That's one way to do it. I've thought about that actually.
Yeah, I guess I'd be concerned with moving the stop signs north and south and just doing east and west. And just going through it and not having to stop. That's my concern. Four-way for at least for the first period of time.
That's what I'm thinking for the first year, maybe even 2 years, see how it goes.
I would be very supportive of that, and I think it would be prudent. It's a prudent approach, just from a public safety standpoint.
I like the idea of enforcing the ordinance that we have. Do we need to do the full 2 miles, or, I almost think that north half a mile wouldn't be as much of an issue.
With engine braking,
Yeah.
I mean, that seems sensible because you're in a less popular area.
The entrance will be in the southern half of the north mile, so as they're coming south, it would be in effect to go into CFD.
There'd be need for a lot of engine braking, actually.
Probably not, no.
Because if you're 45 from 822 all the way to Highway 9, that was just, got it posted. Is that right?
Say it again, I'm sorry?
All the way from 822 to Highway 9, so it'd be 45 miles an hour.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know that you'd be braking a whole lot at that speed anyway, would you?
I would think,
Majority, no, there would be some.
They're plenty, when they have the chance, they do it.
I would think,
One in particular.
Then would we want to consider east and west at all on 822? Near the mound and that intersection. Not as much residents there.
I don't know, see if there's a lot of complaints.
We can always,
Yeah.
anytime, can't we, Mo? We can post any road anytime, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one's a good quarter mile from the intersection, so.
I mean, to keep it simple, about a half a mile north and south of 160 is about where you want to put them. If you're regulating an area, it's about a mile stretch centered around 160.
start the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Schulte?
Yo.
Mr. Jones? Here. Mr. Helmut? Here. Mr. DeBoer? First look at the agenda for today. So approval of that.
Make motion. No, I was just wondering if there's any changes or anything.
Not that I have.
I just got a couple updates at the end,
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion by Jones, support from Schulte, for the agenda as is posted. Further discussion, comments? All those in favor, signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We look at our minutes from last week's meeting, May 11th meeting.
I didn't see anything.
Motion from Jones, support from Mr. DeBoer. Further discussion, comments on the minutes? All those in favor of approval of June 11th minutes, signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Call Friday, really followed up a little bit more yesterday, but, they're just asking if we would consider a truck brake ordinance, or, I heard somewhere before that a noise ordinance is a more effective or better approach than specific truck brake ordinance. Relative to Tyler Avenue, once it's complete, the city has noise ordinance or something for Main Street currently for trucks, and then there's some residences along that Tyler Avenue, especially in the south mile, we would consider that. So,
I couldn't see that with as many trucks as going down there.
But, unless it's finished and you know that you have some sort of issue, I mean, I can see doing it then. But if we do that there's a lot of other areas in the county with truck traffic, especially the people that live there at Business Corner, with all the trucks going to the chicken barns, that have that same issue. And, places like B&K and some of the other rural trucking outfits. So if you do it, it'd have to be a county-wide with specific areas singled out, and I don't know how you would enforce it.
So currently we have enforced ordinance number 34, which states where signs are posted, such engine or noise from vehicles shall be prohibited. And the letter of the law is that where signs prohibiting such actions are posted, it shall be unlawful for the driver of any vehicle to operate a motor vehicle in Osceola County in a manner that results in excessive, loud, or unusual or explosive noise from such vehicle or causes unreasonable distress to the occupants of any residence in the vicinity. Specifically, Section B states the operation of any motor vehicle in such a manner as to emit more than 80 decibels of noise when it drives by, as measured at 50 feet, shall constitute evidence of a prima facie violation. In other words, if we hear that level of noise, if it can be measured, or a reasonable person would believe it to be such, they can be stopped and cited. So really, it's a decision for you guys to decide where you want to post those signs, where you want to direct those signs to be posted. So we really don't necessarily need a new ordinance. What you guys need to decide is where you want to post signs. And they can be uniform across the county. So if you want them at Business Corner and on the North Mile, not at Business Corner, but on the North Mile and the South Mile on Tyler Avenue, it's really your call. And at this stage, I mean, Aaron's probably going to have the best opinion or advice on when this road's going to be complete. You guys can assess that now. If you want to decide that Business Corner needs signs next week, have at it, because it sounds like that's probably a problem with folks driving the chicken barns. So it's really up to you guys where and when you want to post those signs. As far as I can tell from looking at those ordinances, that was one of the ones that we left in effect when we redid the ordinances last year. So kind of already got it.
Wherever we post signs, that is enforced.
Yep.
So it's a current ordinance that we have already established, basically.
I think enforcement would be an issue, because we don't have a manpower to have somebody hanging out at those locations to issue citations.
What it's basically doing is asking the drivers not to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is you're right, it's difficult to enforce that, because highway patrol's not gonna enforce that for us. DOT is not going to enforce that for us. We have very limited manpower to enforce that. What it does give you a chance to do is, you know, why are we talking about Tyler Avenue? Why are we talking about Business Corner? Because agricultural industry uses those roads routinely. And if you get reports that there's serious violations going on or that people are doing it a lot during certain times of the year, then we can have maybe a deputy be out there for part of the day. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to guess when the most hauling is going to happen to those places and from those places. Have a shot at maybe some spot enforcement. You're right, though. I mean, that's the most you're going to get is spot enforcement of this. And it's not as if it's a violation that we have the authority to jack the fines up that high on. I mean, you guys can increase the fines on it, but it's not like a DOT per actual violation where you're seeing eye-popping numbers that are really going to deter somebody. I'd have to look up what the max fine you guys can levy is, but I would guess it's the max fine for a simple misdemeanor, which is $625. I don't think you want to necessarily go that high with folks to start off with, but that's kind of the range of where you're at.
I think some of the ones I looked at, like $100 is what they had.
A weight violation is really easy because people like Aaron can tell you exactly what the statistical effect of an overweight vehicle traveling repeatedly on roads is, and it gets expensive, right? But, excessive noise, there's only so much people are going to tolerate you hitting for, so it's really up to you guys where and when you want to post those.
Is the, fine amount established in the ordinance?
Well, I can take a look. I did not take a look here on that. Let's see. It might be $100. So, there you go.
So another issue, though, that is related to this, back when we had these initial conversations, back 2 years ago with the city and residents, and, some discussions that came up from Schlofeld and the design of that road, two things that we should take action on, and we might as well take action on them maybe by the next board meeting. One would be posting a speed limit for Tyler Avenue. The design on that road is actually a 45-mile-an-hour design of Tyler Avenue, and so that's something I would recommend that we post it. The other thing was actually, this would be a mitigating factor too from the engine brake engine brake issue, is on 160th Street, currently Tyler Avenue is a stop condition, and 160th Street is a through condition, the east-west road. We would change that around and make a stop condition on 160th Street and make Tyler Avenue a through road. So this will help alleviate some of those issues, at least going through those 2 miles. We still won't alleviate it fully because you have the entrance to the elevator and the activities that take place there. That could also still be an issue that you may want to possibly consider posting. But whether you do that now or in the future, that's entirely up to the board. But the 45-mile-an-hour and the change in stop signs at that intersection is something that I probably would recommend that we proceed, especially the mile-per-hour thing. And posting makes sense. It probably would be good to act on it sooner than later. The reason why is we could go out there, put up these new signs. It's already kind of a controlled intersection with all this construction activity. Give people a chance to get familiarized with the new signage, maybe even put in rumble strips or temporary rumble strips to get the local traffic more acquainted with the change in the stop sign condition so that we can mitigate against a potential accident there in the future. But, these are things that I would probably take, quick action on once I have that ordinance in place, because this change in stop sign is by ordinance, I believe.
Are you thinking
In the posting.
switching the stop signs?
Correct.
Or making a four-way stop?
Switching the stop signs so that Tyler Avenue would not have to stop.
Wouldn't it be better off to make it a four-way stop?
It would be the safest thing to do, especially initially, but again, that would not cause, that would not mitigate the engine brake thing, because that's where they're gonna be braking hard, coming down that thing and off the culverts there and coming down the hill from the other direction too. So that's where they're gonna, I'm guessing you're gonna probably have most of your complaints right there if it comes up from an engine brake standpoint.
You'll probably have a fair amount coming off of Highway 9.
Correct.
Turn it off on the time.
Because there's not a whole lot living there, there's Ackerman, I think, there, and, but I mean, there's not a ton of residents in that vicinity. I'm saying?
And we post them on safe roads.
State roads?
Consider
Oh, speed roads.
just to, you know, say what Jerry's saying though too, I mean, it would be the safest condition, you know what I mean, to do it that way. Either way, I think we should get them posted sooner rather than later.
Okay.
But, because currently, east-west is not used to stopping, they haven't done it forever. So, it'd be good to start training them early on, before it actually is open, you know, 2 months from now or so, when it becomes an open highway.
Sure, we to put stop signs up there.
I sort of assumed it'd be the same way, it'd be stopping north and south and not east and west, open the four-way or. It was designed for 45 miles.
Correct.
Prior to.
Yep, correct.
Intersection would be it.
It was things that came up from the city during those initial discussions and these concerns, and we were open to it at that time, and I'm open to it too. I don't see it as I see it as a logical thing, you know, it is logical. But at the same point, you no doubt what Jerry's saying, from a safety standpoint, that would be to mitigate the most risk from an accident standpoint, be a four-way. But from a vehicle noise standpoint, there's no doubt about it, changing those stop signs around is what's gonna do the most good in that sense.
Yeah.
It will.
Because I know just putting up stop signs, it takes a long time for people to get used to that.
Mm-hmm. What we could do is just, we could have a resolution at the next board meeting for that. One thing that we could have a continued discussion on right now is what we want to see there. Because we can more formally propose it in that ordinance. So if we know exactly what we're gonna do now, we can write it up that way,
You know, even if we would make a four-way stop now,
temporarily maybe.
yeah, and change it in a year or so.
You could do
get
that.
more used to it.
That's one way to do it, and I thought about that actually.
Yeah, I guess I'd be concerned with moving the stop signs north and south and just doing east and west. And just going through it and they're not having to stop. That's my concern. Four-way for at least for the first period of time.
That's what I'm thinking, for the first year, maybe even 2 years, see how it goes.
I would be very supportive of that, and I think it would be prudent. It's a prudent approach, just from a public safety standpoint.
I like the idea of enforcing the ordinance that we have. Do we need to do the full 2 miles, or, I almost think that north half a mile wouldn't be as much of an issue.
With engine braking,
Yeah,
I mean, that seems sensible because you're in a less popular area.
the entrance will be in the southern half of the north mile, so as they're coming south, it would be in effect to go into CFD.
There'll be need for a lot of engine braking, that's.
Probably not, no.
Because if you're 45 from 822 all the way to Highway 9, no, just got it posted. Is that right?
Say it again, I'm sorry?
All the way from 822 to Highway 9 is going to be 45 miles an hour.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know that you'd be braking a whole lot at that speed anyway, would you?
I would think,
Majority, no, there would be some.
They're plenty, when they have the chance, they do it.
I would think,
One in particular.
Then would we want to consider east and west at all on 822? Near the mound and that intersection. And not as much residents there.
I don't know, wait and see if there's a lot of complaints.
We can always,
Yeah.
anytime, can't we, no? We can post any road, anytime, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a good quarter mile from the intersection, so.
I mean, to keep it simple, about a half a mile north and south of 160 is about where you want to put them. If you're regulating an area, it's about a mile stretch centered around 160. It's gonna be, well, even more so, it's like a quarter mile north of that entrance, you know, to the elevator or something, and then you're gonna wanna go down by, Travail south of, on Tyler.
Yep.
You know, those are gonna be like the logical places that you would start regulating, in my opinion, if you were gonna do something soon.
Well, would we like to proceed with this at next week's meeting with both the engine noise or the noise ordinance and the stop signs?
Yeah.
You guys don't mind proceeding with the documents or what we need to?
Yeah, so you're looking for a resolution to
Forward
post
stop.
engine brake ordinances
Okay.
on, you let me know what sections, and post a four-way stop at whichever intersection it is. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear.
Is that 160th and Tyler?
Yeah, it's Tyler Avenue and 160th Street.
160th and Tyler.
Forward stop. That would need an ordinance. The other one, if I'm understanding the current ordinance, they would just have to tell where they want it. It's gonna be, well, even more so, it's like a quarter mile north of that entrance, you know, to the elevator or something, and then you're gonna wanna go down by, Travail south of, on Tyler.
Yep.
You know, those are gonna be like the logical places that you would start regulating, in my opinion, if you were gonna do something soon.
Well, would we like to proceed with this at next week's meeting with both the engine noise or the noise ordinance and the stop signs?
Yeah.
You guys don't mind proceeding with the documents or what we need to?
Yeah, so you're looking for a resolution to
Forward
post
stop.
engine brake ordinances
Okay.
on, you let me know what sections, and post a four-way stop at whichever intersection it is. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear.
Is that 160th and Tyler?
Yeah, it's Tyler Avenue and 160th Street.
160th and Tyler.
Forward stop. That would need an ordinance. The other one, if I'm understanding the current ordinance, they would just have to tell where they want it. Do they even need a new ordinance?
You don't need an ordinance for every stop sign in the county. You just need a resolution to put a stop sign there.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant to use the word resolution. I apologize. We need a
It took me a while to
resolution.
get that one straight.
Yeah. They need a resolution for the,
A stop sign and a resolution to post the engine brake ordinance.
yeah, you're right, that makes sense.
Do you already have those signs there?
We can get them. And the stop sign will be easy to do, so that we should take action on more immediately, because then we can start training traffic now. The engine brake ordinance isn't gonna really matter until the road's open, so. We can order those signs if we need them.
Thank you, guys. At 9:00, Mrs. Berger from Spear Financial is with us, considering other revenue funding options.
Hi there. Thank you. Thanks everyone for having me. I'm Maggie Berger with Spear. I do have some handouts with me, so I'm going to have you guys take one and put them down if I can. It should have enough. There should actually be one extra probably over there if you want to hand that there and
Thank you.
Thank you all for having me this morning. I was up in your area selling bonds yesterday for Northwest Iowa Community College. Also paid a visit to Lyon County yesterday, near my last stop before I have to head north. So I don't get to go home until Friday. So thank you for working me into your schedule. I do really appreciate it. What I have in front of you is a conversation that we've been having for a few months here, and this is what I think you guys probably are referring to as maybe phase 2 of the Tyler Avenue project. And the conversation that has ensued is that we've got Tyler project funds that are needed based on a second bidding, unaccounted for costs associated with the full project. I mean, these are things that I believe you guys have put together to say, these are the things that we may not have accounted for. It could be contingencies, these could be some other cost figures. We're showing our estimated cost of issuance if you were to do this through bonding, underwriter discount, and then down below, we're using all this cash. So we're buying down this total project cost of $2,214,000 with some cash.
Just at this point, not to argue with you, but the unaccounted for, I won't use that term personally.
Okay.
I mean, that first borrowing, I think we just went off what we were confident.
Right.
The minimum assessment
Okay.
would provide, and we were operating off that.
Okay.
Waiting to see what was needed going forward.
Sounds good.
Not trying to be
No, that's just,
sensational, but.
no, that's just fine. That's just fine. We want to make sure that this looks in the way and comes up to the number that you think that you need. Rise cash, we assume there's about $209,000. At last glance, and this was maybe a month ago, we looked at unspent bond proceeds off of the other issuance of about $1,290,000. And then we're saying to get you to that $700,000 number of borrowing. And we talked about this a month or so ago on the phone. You'd need probably from the county about $15,674. So the conversation that's been going on is whether the county should borrow this money in an external type borrowing, doing a bond issue, doing a second bond issue, doing some kind of a note and issuance of debt, or borrowing this internally. In conversations with the county auditor, we feel borrowing $700,000 internally may be a little too much for you internally, that you want to pull away. I remind you that you definitely should hold some cash reserves always, just because things that we don't know about could happen next week or a month from now, that you may need some of that cash. We also would encourage you on a larger scale project, because I do believe $700,000 is a larger scale project, that's where you do look to go out and borrow, so that on smaller scale projects of $100,000, $50,000, $75,000, those are amounts that you comfortably could borrow from yourself internally or use cash resources from in the future. And so really what we're suggesting is that you would do a borrowing. The other thing that I think we should bring up is the interest rate on your first issuance that was over about a 20-year period is 2.88%. Yesterday, we sold 12-year bonds for the college, general obligation bonds at a 2.15%. And so interest rates are very low. They are much lower than we would have assumed even last year, talking at this time, that they would have been. The stock market has had its ups and downs these last few months, and that helps the bond market. There is a fleet of safety when people feel like there's too much activity going on in the stock market, not good activity. They pull money out and they look for municipal bonds because they are safe. Their general obligations are both safe and credit. Even though you're expecting to pay them with TIF proceeds, they are a safe mechanism for investing. All of that fleeing from the stock market drives down the yields on the bond market, meaning you're getting lower and lower interest rates. The Federal Reserve is also talking about cutting interest rates yet this year, which seems unfathomable to me in my crystal ball, but if that would occur, we would see rates maybe even dipping a little bit lower or really maintaining at the low rate that they are currently. The second page of our document is, as we always do, your estimated cost of issuance if you were to do $700,000. We are, assuming that if you were to go out and borrow, our fee would be in place. This is our fee for up to $1 million of borrowing. Sphere Auction is the website, just like we did the last time that we sell those bonds on. Official statement and printing, because of the size small of under $1 million, we're able to discount that fee a little bit. Copies, postage, and delivery, just the same as it always is. No good faith wire fee and no movie strip, obviously no rating strip. Bond counsel's fee, we did ask for a quote, and this would be bond counsel and urban renewal work. So this is, and we'll get to kind of that conversation, this would be amending a TIF plan to do this issuance and all of their bond counsel, which is public hearings, all of the proceedings, the tax exempt certificate. And then the last thing is number 9 there, registrar and paying agent. Same thing you are doing right now. Currently, Bankers Trust is your registrar and paying agent, just so you know, and you probably took action on this, or you may have taken action recently. Bankers Trust has been purchased. The corporate trust department has been purchased by UMB Bank, and they, on July 12th, will become the registrar and paying agent. Side note, you have to file something on the EMMA system, which is your disclosure system. Our office is actually working on all those filings right now. We actually were floating the template yesterday amongst all of us for review and comment, so those will all get filed in a timely basis, so no one has to worry about those. And then the underwriter discount item number 16, I remind you that when we go out and sell bonds, we do offer 0.8% to the underwriter, and those would be the purchasers of the bond. And that's really because those purchasers on the first time, if they typically turn around and resell those bonds. They may resell them to local banks, they may resell them to insurance companies, other financial advisors for personal portfolios, things like that. So this is the money that they can take out of the deal to pay their sales staff, as a sales commission to resell. I think this next sheet is really one of the most important that we are looking at. This next sheet is $700,000. We put this over a 6-year maturity. So if you were to borrow this out in the public market, you cannot make a June of 2020 principal payment. And the reason for that is we don't have any kind of levy in place. We don't have a debt service levy in place. You don't have skip axings in place. There's nothing in place to do that. So likely you would need to make that interest-only payment, which is about $16,000. That maybe comes from cash internally so that you don't have to, or you could interfund loan tax. But this first blue column here, right here, this is what the estimated principal and interest looks like on $700,000 over 6 years. So it's about $140,000 a year. It kind of gets lower as we go down. This is at an interest rate of about 3%. I gave this to you at 3% to be a little conservative today, just in case the Fed does not cut interest rates and the economy really improves this summer and we start to see interest rates rise. But I do believe that you probably on a 6-year are going to come in well below 3%. So this is just a conservative look for you. The next column over, that's kind of a tan color, this is the outstanding levy or the outstanding debt that is against that CFE for 2017. This was the issuance you did. So that debt payment is about $216,000 a year. So together you would see that those payments are significantly more in the first 6 years because you'd be adding debt. I want to remind you though that we're estimating the CFE TIF revenue to come in at somewhere around $243,000, and that's just based on what we assume their taxable valuation or incremental valuation may come in. So how I tried to do this was the tan and the tan go together. So if you've got $216,000 CFE payments on the 2017 debt, it's going to be paid with the $243,000. In our conversation, the blue and the blue go together. We've had a conversation that your ethanol plant urban renewal area has some freedom, we'll say, coming up. There will be some availability to levy for, in fiscal year 21, some additional TIF taxes there. Some of that debt is dropping off or maturing. So we're assuming that if you used about 139, maybe even a little less than that, this is how you pay for this new 6-year debt, would be off of the ethanol plant. You would not use any of the CFE proceeds to pay on this new debt. It would all be related to the ethanol. So that's where the urban renewal work comes in. What bond counsel would do on the phone call that we had with them is they would amend the ethanol plant to include this project and likely run a very simple, I think they said a roadway easement, just over to this project so that they could use the TIF revenues out of the ethanol area in this project area, if it was not already included, and I don't think we said that it was. So they're not wanting to include all of CFE or anything like that. It would just be this portion of the road, this phase 2 part of the road that they would include. The reason we want to do that is you've got CFE, you took that debt out in 2017. You made fiscal year 19 payments, and you're going to make a fiscal year 20 payment without any TIF receipts being available to you. And the reason is the timing of when that valuation at CFE comes on. That equals about $206,000 of interfund loans that you're doing. So we really don't have the capability of using that extra $25,000 to $35,000 a year from CFE to pay this $700,000 debt off, because you're going to need to pay, you're going to need to use those leftover CFE proceeds to pay back the interfund loans that you're already doing. That's another reason we're talking about going outside and borrowing, because you're already going to be on the hook internally for $206,000.
Purple column starts to repay that too.
Yeah, the purple columns are shown as negative numbers because that's the leftover proceeds that would be able to repay the CFE interfund loans. So really what we're looking at is that. So I wanted to show you that here's what it looks at 3%. Your interest, total interest at 3% on $700,000 is about $82,000. The very next sheet, all I did was kind of keep everything the same, but I raised the interest rate to 3.5%. And at 3.5%, you can see that the total interest that I've circled down there is $103,000. The reason I did that, and I wanted to have this conversation, is 50 basis points, so just 0.5%, saves you $21,516 in interest. And again, I'm thinking that we can even get under 3%. We had a conversation about, do we just go out to banks, do we go out and do a full-on bond sale? It's our recommendation at this time that we would go out and market this to everybody. That would be underwriters, that would be banks locally, anybody and everyone would have every opportunity to bid on it. We see bank loan rates a little bit higher, and the reason that bank loan rates right now are higher is because they're paying all of us money markets and CD rates that are a little higher, and the bond market just hasn't gotten there yet. It is still very, very low. They're definitely operating on two different wavelengths. Banks are operating on a retail side of things, and these are investments, and people are willing to take tax-free investments, because that's exactly what they are, and take a little bit lower interest rate. So it's not my suggestion right now that we would go out and market this just to banks in and around the county. I think if we want to market it to banks, we also should be marketing it to underwriters and see who shows up on the day of sale. And 6 years being very, very short, I think that, again, interest rates are going to come in well under that 3% mark. What I guess I'm really here to do is answer any questions that you have about this, and then continue the conversation. And maybe that's not today, but continue the conversation about how we do this and maybe what the timing looks like.
What is the timing?
Yeah, so really good point is I think that you need to have this all done by December 1st. And the reason is because we've got to certify this new debt to the ethanol TIF district, because if you do not, you will have a gap year where everyone in that area will see receipts coming in, because that other debt will be paying off. They will kind of get a bump, maybe in their property tax valuation, for collections of their own taxes, and then next year, if you were to certify, you know, a year from now, then they're gonna see that taken away, and that's not what we wanna do in TIF. You always want to utilize the TIF before anybody recognizes the TIF in their budget. So it would be our suggestion that, you would complete this type of action, by December 1st, and that does entail about 60 days of urban renewal work. So from the time we say, let's go forward and get the urban renewal work going, it's about 60 days before we can really start the bonding process. So unfortunately, I don't want to talk about December, but when we put it into 60 and 90-day timeframes, it gets here much quicker than we all think it does.
I don't know how this plays into this thing. I had a conversation with Rob this week, from CFE, and I don't know if you guys remember, we added the 2 feet to the road, and you guys wanted me to talk to him about, paying for some of that. CFE, and this is just Rob talking, this has got to be a board decision, actually would consider loaning us money, part of the money for this. Now, he probably wouldn't do it for 2.5%.
Right, maybe 2.5%.
But it is an option there, but that, you know, it's a board decision. They have done that in Lyon County, when they built the fertilizer plant over there. They had to redo some bridges over there on a couple county roads, and they actually went in and borrowed the county money. I'm not sure you can tell me how that all works, but they financed part of the, so.
Yes, they probably wrote a loan agreement, there was probably a developer type of agreement where.
Is that a smart idea? I mean,
yeah.
It relieves some of the pressure on the money we have to borrow, doesn't it?
Right,
But,
it would relieve some pressure, but any kind of borrowing that you do, you still are gonna have to do urban renewal work, and you still would be doing, so there's still some of the costs associated.
Yeah, I'm not.
But I don't disagree, if they're willing to lend it to you, let's say at 0%, 1%, 2.5%, it may be an option to look at. The other thing that we wanna all definitely look at is how much they're willing to lend to you. Because if we start to split it up, then you do add costs.
Yes.
You do add costs, because now all of a sudden you've got to do 2 funding mechanisms. You're doing a public hearing with them, public hearing for either an internal borrowing or whatever that may look like. But I think it's a very valid point that definitely should be
We just had that
explored.
conversation and.
Absolutely.
And he said that's a board decision, and you'd have to bring it in front of the board. And,
Right.
But do we want to pursue that, or is it worth it, or?
I kind of like using the ethanol. Yeah.
I understand, I'm just
Yeah.
throwing, you know, I thought maybe he would say, well, I'll pay the extra fee, but he wouldn't do that. But he said, I'll bring it to the board, so. That's why I was wondering about the timeline. I mean, I don't know when the next board meeting is, but.
What did you mean by he wouldn't probably be at 2.5%?
He said there would be an interest charge, but he
He
couldn't,
might go lower.
he didn't, he couldn't.
My mind initially here, well, then we're probably paying more.
That's what I thought too.
But, no, if they're investing it and getting 1%,
Yeah.
they can do
And
1.5, but.
he couldn't give me any of those figures because he's at the board decision.
Right.
And he wanted me to call him when we were done here to see where we thought we were at, maybe we should or shouldn't talk about that.
Well, then the art of the deal to me is, okay, well, we promised you rebate, if this interest is viewed as a portion of the rebate that you technically, potentially capable of getting. Otherwise, yeah, that rebate is looking years down the road. This would be a win-win if we get a better rate to,
You know, maybe
get in some of that, I don't know.
he couldn't tell me anything for sure. Maybe
Yeah.
they wouldn't give it to, maybe they'll give us actually, it wasn't 150 or 175,000 extra for that 2-foot road. Do you remember, Aaron?
40,000.
You know,
I can
maybe
find
they
out
would,
in a second.
you know, he was talking 3-4 year loan, maybe they would do it interest free. Would that be I'm just talking out loud here. He didn't promise anything.
Absolutely, because really the $700,000 number we're talking about, that to me is, we'll say a little bit fluid. That's the conversation that internally everyone needs to have, and again, we can sharpen our pencils and set not to exceed numbers in public hearings, and what you borrow is what you borrow. Because some of this is, we're depending on some contingency, we're depending on, and as we get further down the road. So to be honest, to be able to close by December 1st, we probably need to be selling bonds sometime in like mid-October, which gives us a lot of time here. I mean, we probably should be doing urban renewal work sooner than later, because no matter however you borrow this, you're gonna need urban renewal work to be able to pay this back with the ethanol plant. If that is truly the direction you wanna go, this other borrowing, and then we can continue to work towards whatever that number is. We probably need to solidify that number by about the 1st of September, so that we can sell in October and close in November, so that legally, we have the documentation to be able to certify,
You got
December
an
1st.
indication from, in preparing this, from Dorsey Whitney, how soon or when?
They can start whenever. John was pretty confident, that, you know, if you guys wanted to start right around the first time you met in July, he can get you some working documents. Your first, step with him is setting a date of public hearing on an urban renewal plan amendment. And then then there's a 30-day window. So if you start in early July, it would be early August then that you would have that urban renewal, and the reason that public hearing. And the reason is there's steps that have to occur in that time frame: publication, consultation, things
Check
like
with
that.
Dorsey and Whitney, see if we can start that next week, or the first meeting in July, and then you're setting that ceiling
Yeah.
of what the ultimate borrowing
Right.
could go up to.
I would
That,
think-
how would make any difference if CFE decided, July 4th, that, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and.
Yeah, no, because what we would do is we would set a public hearing amount, you know, and it may be 700, maybe it's 750, maybe it's 800, whatever. Again, it's just a number that's out there. You could borrow anything up to that number, but you can't borrow over that number. So that is definitely something you want to think about and decide. And it doesn't matter how you borrow it, it's just saying that there will be some kind of borrowing, some kind of, you know, program. And again, that could be partially internal, that could be a loan from the developer, that could be, you know, an external borrowing as well, so.
So what happens if the bills start coming in before we bond, then we're gonna take it out of, if we don't have enough money?
Right, so if you're spending down your unspent bond proceeds and the bills are coming in, once you get to that, once we have started the public hearing process, you have 60 days from the day that you have your public hearing to go back and pay bills. So I would assume that if you were to set a date of public hearing on urban renewal in early July, hold the public hearing in early August on urban renewal, that's the same date that you could set a date of public hearing on bonding. Probably by the end of August, you'd be able to hold a public hearing on bonding, which means we back that up 60 days, you could be paying bills right now and still be able to legally reimburse yourself under IRS.
That would be internal funds paying, potentially internal.
It would be internal funds paying those bills, and then you could get yourself back with bond proceeds, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you have 60 days from the day that you hold the public hearing on the bonding, you have 60 days to go back. So you can go back in time 60 days, and anything you paid in that 60 days can be reimbursed, most
So
definitely.
then would we have to have another internal loan document from John Daniels, or would we be okay?
No, you would be okay, and the real reason is because we're approaching July 1st. If this was gonna be over the end of the fiscal year, we definitely would wanna have some kind of a resolution by the board to say, we did this, we're gonna pay ourselves back proceeds in the next fiscal year, but because you're past the fiscal year, you would be past the fiscal year, and let's say, you should be fine, because technically, the auditors will know that it occurred. You paid the bill, you reimbursed yourself, but really no one else would, because you would pay yourself back before the end of the fiscal year. You'd make yourself whole, we say. So this is really, I think, we really just wanted to talk about it and make the suggestion that I really do believe if you are needing somewhere in the neighborhood of, you know, $700,000, you definitely should look at borrowing that externally. I think I have some heartache about you taking that from internal funds, just because, again, it's my financial responsibility to make sure that you are able to maintain the county and pay bills in case there would be something that would happen, and this would really tie up that money for 6 to 7 years. You know, if we could say it's gonna tie up your money for 1 year, it'd be a different story. But just looking at a 6-year repayment, that kind of coincides with that ethanol plant and the funds, that we think that there could be more funds taken from the ethanol plant area. But I think a conservative look was not to maybe exceed about $135,000, $140,000. Again, not having to necessarily ask for. You may determine in the future there's more funds that could be taken, and if that's the case, then definitely you can take them and work on paying this, you know, off a year earlier or something like that.
Again, that number was arrived at because to get to the final payoff for current bonds on the used ethanol urban renewal area, the ethanol plant capture itself was brought down to what, 79,000? So this would be proceeding with that level being, staying the same. The other entities, the other properties in that area could be utilized to the full extent, and some of that's going to rebates to those entities yet, so they're not fully funding this, but that's keeping the ethanol plant without seeing that spike back up.
Right, and that is important, that's very important in your TIP planning.
Or at least the areas that would capture what their revenue. Not
Widening,
necessarily the ethanol plant, sorry.
widening cost was just under $143,000.
What other questions do you have?
I think we're kind of on board, it's just a matter of now getting the paperwork in and making sure everything's.
So I think it'll probably be your first meeting in July. I have a feeling they're not gonna be able to get documents turned around for you in plenty of time, but that means your first meeting in July, you will have a meeting on July 2nd, is that correct? No, July 9th, I'm sorry, I'm not counting. July 9th, yeah, that should be,
Sorry, good, but.
no, that should be just fine, actually, that'll be fine. So we'll set a date of public hearing on the urban renewal plan, and I will let them know. I'll copy both Rochelle and Jason in on that email that I sent to bond council, just so that everyone is fully in the loop on that. And then it would be about a month, so we would look at your first meeting there in August, maybe on the 13th. Is that sounding correct? August 13th is when you would have that public hearing on urban renewal. So one thing I will ask you, is there a not to exceed number that you want to use in that urban renewal plan? We've got to use some kind of a number. We're suggesting that the borrowing may look like $700,000, but that number is really up to you. Again, it's just a not to exceed number, and all it has to do is say, we will not exceed this number of any type of borrowing that we do to be paid back with TIF revenues from the ethanol plant area. So that number can be the 700, it could be 500, it can be $1 million. Any thoughts or comments on that, to let them know?
Are those numbers pretty solid from that contractor with the bid?
Shouldn't be any less than that, though. I mean,
Shouldn't be any more.
it shouldn't be any, like, the amount of borrowing shouldn't be any less than what we're asking. Meaning,
Shouldn't borrow any less.
What I'm saying, should we make that number 700 or 750?
well, that's what I was looking at. I was seeing if that number is exactly what we were talking about. It's close, but I'm wondering, like, right now, we're saying cash from county, like 16 grand. If I'm reading this right.
Yeah,
so
so that takes you up to about 700, and, so again, we're saying cash from the county, about 15,000, I think that's where we're kind of getting to our 712, because again, remember, we've got cost of issuance in here, so to get you to kind of that 700,000, it's really like you're offsetting the cost of issuance, so again, we can go to 750 if that's a more comfortable number, and again, I'm not saying that we'll end up borrowing that. That's where you guys will get to make that determination.
I'm wondering if that's what we were talking about, because I have like some numbers written down here, and I'm trying to go back over it now, because I didn't really prepare myself for this specific meeting, you know what I mean?
What I'm wondering if we went 750, because we don't have to take that.
Exactly.
No, that's right, absolutely not.
Yeah,
You
not
could
to
say
exceed.
750 and then turn around and borrow 600,000 with the
If you're gonna use a not to exceed amount, I would use that amount, even if we don't take that amount much. That's safer amount. Exactly, it is a safer amount. I can tell you right now, just looking at some of the numbers I have written down, this chicken scratch right now, it's a safer number.
And it's really just sitting down and again, we've done a lot of phone calls and I agree, we've gone from this number to that number and it's RISE money and it's unspent funds, because there's just a whole lot in the mix. So that gives you then that month to kind of work through all of those numbers, kind of see where your bills are coming in. And then at your August meeting, not only do you have the public hearing on the urban renewal plan, but you would set a day of public hearing on the borrowing itself. That again could be $750,000. Again, not saying you ever have to borrow that amount. And then by the end of August, we really would need to know what that borrowing amount. So that gives you guys 2 whole months to kind of work through and determine what that borrowing amount needs to be and what sort of borrowing that is going to be.
I'd almost say the 750 and not to exceed.
That should work.
Because we don't have to take that.
That should work. I mean, this is probably a good estimate, but I think that 750 is a better number to use for a not to exceed amount.
I've been asking for sure months, and it just keeps, well, maybe a little more, but maybe a little more, but maybe a little more.
Well, I'm trying to understand.
With the issuance, or with when we awarded the contract, yeah, I have down that it was 712 is what we took.
That's the number I have too,
Yeah, we can go
712.
above that, I'm not intending to borrow any more than we need, but, yeah, just kind of constantly say, well, maybe we'll need a little more, maybe. I just like to have the number more nailed down. I have to go on it already, but.
How does that work if, say, CFD would borrow some money? How does it all work? Who do we go through, or how do we, they just write us a check, or?
Nope, so there'll be a loan agreement put in place, and so you still have to do the urban renewal work, so you get that done. Then you would need to do a public hearing, and likely that public hearing would be for just whatever that amount is, so you probably have 2 public hearings. Let's say they lend you $100,000 at, let's just say 0%, if they lend you $100,000 at 0%, if that's the case, there'd be a public hearing related to that. Then there would be another public hearing for maybe 600 or whatever, it is.
I wasn't sure.
Then bond council would write a loan agreement, and it would be a loan agreement that you guys would pass and sign, and CFE would pass and sign. And it basically outlines, that loan agreement outlines that it's 0%, that it's, they're gonna give you the money this day, and they very well could just give you the money or wire you the money. But it's also gonna tell you what the repayment terms are, when you're gonna make payments on that. And the one key thing here, and I will ask you to take this back to them, is you will not be able to make principal and interest payments before about fiscal year 21. And you'll be able to make an interest-only payment, but you would not be able to pay them any principal back before fiscal year 21 because, so June of 21, because you won't have any receipts until we certify this debt this December, which is for fiscal year 21 collection.
So you are collateralizing the first interest payment?
The first interest payment, we are not. We're just saying you could pay that with cash from the county, you could pay that from any other source. I'm not a believer in doing any kind of collateralizing of interest, because you just pay more interest on the bigger borrowing side. It is not my favorite way. If that is the only way that we have available, then we can get on board with that. But at a $16,000 amount, $17,000 amount, it would not be my suggestion that you would compound that into the loan size.
$100,000 you've got to pay this from general fund.
Yeah, well, that 100, so at the first, yeah, it's just the interest on fiscal year 20, so it's about $16,328. The $143 is the next year's payment, and that's in fiscal year 21, and you should have TIF receipts to pay that, because you certified this December 1st to have TIF receipts to pay that. Does that make sense for everybody? So is $750,000 a number that everyone is comfortable with being in that urban renewal plan amendment?
I kind of agree with you a little bit, Jason. It just keeps going up all the time. But, yeah.
Yeah, we're not half borrow, I get that.
Absolutely.
We don't have to borrow. And maybe it is good, I'm just trying to do the math here and what I have written down. So, we were looking at needing $712,000, if I'm reading this right, on my chicken scratch? Is that what we were looking at? Okay. If I'm So we're close, I mean, it's not, we're saying the unaccounted for is, we're not, even though that term is probably not a good term, it's 620.
And we can work with Aaron and Rochelle to maybe sit down and put it like into kind of like a flow chart, maybe that's helpful, to say, here's what's left over with the phase one, here's what the bid was for phase two, and any costs that are unaccounted for, and this and that, and try to bring you some numbers, if that maybe would be helpful. I'm very happy to just sit down and try to make that as easy for everyone to see, because I think that will get us to a true number of what we really think you need to borrow. I do not want to see you borrow more than you have to borrow. I definitely don't want that to happen.
If I'm going through this correct, and I'm doing it kind of quickly here, it looks like we're good on this, it's just, so if you guys want to set the 960 higher just for safety measure, that's fine, but I think we're good. It's just going over it quickly here. Yeah.
So with my understanding, just say CFP said, well, we'll give you $150,000 for whatever rate you could get through your bonding. It wouldn't pay them,
No, probably not.
No, because then you'd have some added costs to do two loan agreements.
Yeah.
John Danos'
That's what I thought,
office,
right?
right, John Danos' office is gonna prepare 2 sets of loan agreements.
So they're gonna have to come in and say, well, we'll do this interest free, right?
Interest
Basically,
free, 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 1%, 0.5%, that'd be great.
Half of what we went,
Yeah.
if they 1.5, I'd say up to 1.5,
Yeah.
probably doing.
Or give us
Yeah.
some money.
Because like you were saying, hopefully we come in a little over 2%.
That would be our goal. And again, probably, and we're working through this in a good time frame. So we're hoping that the interest rates, and I'm not really seeing interest rates moving, but if you get started down this path, as soon as we get through public hearings, you could borrow. So I'm saying we need to borrow by about mid-October to close, but likely you could be borrowing this in September if we thought interest rates were creeping up. We could say, okay, we need to jump off now. I don't think that's necessary.
Like LTC is 2.1, that's cheap.
Absolutely.
Definitely it is.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't see any reason to drag this out either.
No.
We've
No.
committed to the contract.
That's right, yeah, because that's the other thing, is you bid the contract, so you know really where these costs should be coming in at. Again, there's always a little bit of room, but you've already been working in the area, so you know that you're not running over boulders, you're not, sometimes it's when you first initially and go into a project, there are gonna be some unknowns to what's there, but you're already in the area working, so I don't think that should be a problem. So if that's okay, we will ask John Danos' office, and I will send an email probably later today or tomorrow to them, copying both of these folks in and all of you guys so that we can keep this process moving, and we'll schedule them to set a date of public hearing for urban renewal work on July 9th, and I'll reference that phone call that we've had with them, that we are going to use the ethanol plant area TIF receipts, and that we're not commingling, because remember, he did have some concerns about commingling. That's not our plan to commingle the ethanol and the CFE. This would just be standalone just to come into this phase two. Aaron, probably what he will need is either like a project description or some kind of map to say this, this second phase is from this road to this road, or something that he can say he's got. A legal description, and it doesn't have to be very legal. Let's say that it would be point A to point B.
Staging phase of.
Right, exactly. So I will make sure and copy you in as well.
Is this for Tyler Avenue, or is this for like that ethanol thing?
Tyler Avenue.
Tyler Avenue.
Tyler Avenue paving.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Will Danos be in contact with me about this, and what he needs exactly?
Yeah, so I will copy you in on the email, and I'll just have him email you
Sounds
directly.
good.
I'll just
Sounds
ask him to
good.
email you directly for whatever legal description, and he may or may not need it. He may have the one from the prior urban renewal plan
Yeah.
with CFE, which may have included all of it, and he may just say, I just need you to like highlight on this sheet what this actually, the
Okay.
second phase is, because that's what we're talking about, so,
Okay.
all right? Anything else? Thank you all very much for taking time, I really appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you.
We go to the Enterprise Park mowing agenda item. We still have an interested individual that
protects him from suing us, but it doesn't necessarily give us the, insurance that having him as an initial, or having us as an initial insurer his policy gives us. So, we want it both ways.
So you would put on there that, what he has to have then?
Yes, additional insurance must be added to this.
What are we talking about? Can I ask, what are we talking about?
Mowing out there, mowing in there.
Yeah, I understand that, I keep going, who we're talking about.
You didn't have to.
I guess we would be looking at a motion to approve the waiver of liability, or to approve Dean Ackerman providing signing the waiver of liability, and include the county as additionally insured in its policy.
The second,
He's already provided.
both of those things. Approve the waiver of liability and approve Dean Ackerman provided he signs the waiver of liability and provides us a certificate of insurance to list us as an additional insurer.
Need a motion on that?
If he'll give that word into the,
And I'll make that word.
The auditor.
the auditor.
I'll support that.
I have that motion, Mike Schulte, support Jerry Helmers, that would give approval of waiver of liability, and to identify Dean Ackerman as providing, doing the mowing and grass removal. Providing he signs the waiver and includes the county on the, as an
So
additional.
he needs to do that and then bring it up here to,
Yeah, I would like to see that done before he begins any mowing.
right, because, you know, it's getting where he's gotta get this dry enough, he's gotta start mowing it too, so.
Yeah, he wants the hay from it too, so he doesn't want to get rain down.
But I just wanna make sure he does this in the right order, so.
Yep.
Okay, any further discussion or items concerning that? Questions? And all those in favor of that motion by Mr. Schulte with support from Mr. Helmer, signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Next couple steps, you can proceed.
All righty.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
And I have other business, committee reports, and you had some updates, Jerry?
Just on our, I talked with Wayne Faber.
Okay.
Our.
Oh, good.
What do we call that, our
Drainage issue?
drainage issue? It's not a drainage issue.
It's not, it's not in.
I've talked with both Doug, I've talked with Wayne, not together.
Okay.
I've driven by it, I'm not even sure where it's at.
Yeah, I understand.
They both kind of think we should take care of it all.
Sure they, yes.
So, I'm meeting with Wayne Monday or Tuesday, if you wanna come along.
That'd be great.
I gotta call him for Sunday night or Monday morning, I'm gonna be gone for a few days, but, I don't know what is our really responsibility? They're kind of both pointing their fingers to us. And I know we discussed, we don't wanna do it if it's gonna continue to happen, and it probably will continue to happen. Where do we go from here?
There's two things we're doing right now, is having this initial meeting with them, because I think we all felt we want to still have a discussion with them
Yeah.
together, so
Yeah.
we know, is anything behavior gonna change here?
Yeah.
Then on the side note, Nolan and I are supposed to be meeting with the drainage attorney to get some,
Okay.
the legal aspect of it. He actually called, but Nolan
I think there's-
turned it in, and we didn't.
To be honest, I think there's things being done already, and I told the person that was his deal. I wouldn't guarantee anything from the county, but he was tired of waiting, so, he was gonna move forward. I don't think we're gonna get to there. So what is our responsibility? That's what you're gonna find out from the
Exactly.
drainage.
So who was the one you were speaking with, you talking to?
I've talked to both of them
Yes.
just in the last 2 days.
Yep.
Doug said he's gotta do some repair work out there, he's gonna start cleaning it out.
Okay.
possibly just send us a bill. I said, well, that doesn't mean we'll pay it. I said, I'm not saying we won't. I said, I'm not saying we will either.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
As I understand it is, the problem is on county property.
Correct.
Yes.
But I've not got the impression that anything with the county property is causing the problem. It's just where it's collecting and.
But now Wayne claims it's a tributary. It's causing, it's actually a waterway, and there's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
we're taking the water, it's ending up in our property, and then it's also
depositing
depositing
sediment
in.
there at, when it makes that turn,
Alexander's. So
part of it being,
I'm not sure what to do. If it's our responsibility, it's on. The problem is on our responsibility, but it starts up higher, but you gotta take the water, so,
But in districts, if you have to take the water, but you do something to remedy it, then you can send the bill back
but
upstream.
it's not a district, is it?
I know, that's just where I'm
Yeah.
drawing any understanding.
Well, I'll meet with him next week, I'll meet with Wayne next week sometime. Yeah. That's all I can tell you, I don't know anymore.
We got a bill already from Kramer, like $86, so county pays for that first,
For that
for the legal.
specific,
Yeah, he doesn't say drainage shift, I'm assuming that's when you guys talk to him.
yeah, so it's Kramer, who's the one raising now?
That's Kramer,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Kramer, is that the one raising?
Yeah, we just got a bill
He's
yesterday.
given some information to you then?
We had identified that we would use
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, but if we got a bill, he must
be
have did something.
I had a brief conversation with him, but Nolan wasn't available, and we were gonna reconvene so we could actually have I sent him all the information, he reviewed the items.
But he hasn't got back to you?
We haven't had a formal
Oh.
discussion with Nolan and myself on how to proceed. So it's probably more for his review time.
One of them says the berm, they said it needs to be something, a berm or something needs to be built. And one of them says it needs to be on their side, and the other one says it needs to be on the other guy's side, so. I personally don't know if we're gonna get anywhere. So I guess it's gonna end up being possibly a county problem.
It possibly could be, obviously what's going on
And
here.
who's taking care of it?
Well,
Secondary roads don't.
No, I mean, it's just a
That's a
a
conservation.
general fund issue, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's however that gets managed.
Just fall back to the conservation limit.
Yeah, is that trail property, county or conservation?
County.
That stretch from Allen North,
That's where the issue is too, isn't it? I drove by it yesterday, I really couldn't figure out where it is.
Yeah, it isn't a
Maybe it's
secondary
stupid.
road. But either way, the only piece of equipment that's going to solve the problem isn't a tracked excavator, which we don't have. We don't have that anyway. So to do the work, it's going to be a contractor
Yeah,
doing the work.
we'll see what happens next week when I talk with Wayne. I'm not sure if they wanna both talk together, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
He said he would though, meet and talk together, but
Well, he wanted to meet with me specifically first.
Doug?
Not everybody to know Wayne.
Oh, Wayne, okay. Doug was okay, I thought.
Yeah, Doug was okay.
Yeah, okay, he was fine.
Wayne's kind of private.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not knocking either one of them,
Well-
nobody wants to pay the bill, and I said, well, we're not sure we do either. I said, and then it gets to,
Who would like to make it
who,
up?
if we
I
do
know.
pay it, what department pays for it?
Maybe we can split it 3 ways.
Well, that was our thought
Yeah.
process, but I don't know. So that's all I have, Jason. I should've made sure.
Do we start the process to consider making it a drainage district?
Yeah,
I
possibly.
mean, then you get assessments,
Yeah.
who is benefited.
Does
So,
possibility.
does the landowner in that area have to file a petition to get that rolling?
I'm not sure.
We would be a landowner.
That would be.
We are a landowner. So you could start that petition, but you'd have to get, enough people signing up for that too.
Yeah.
Geez, just we need some other.
Oh, my.
The initial cost of setting one up is pretty.
Maybe it'd be cheaper.
I even said there is a simpler way, if everybody's in agreement, they can make a more pseudo thing that's not exactly a drainage district, but
Well, maybe we can
connected.
get everybody on the same page. Let's see what happens next week.
That'd be the best.
Okay. All right.
You would be your officer. You'll stop.
And any further, I'd be open to the motion to adjourn. Mr. Ford, Mr. Jones, doesn't sound like there's gonna be a lot of discussion, so all